Hello and welcome to your Daily Detroit. It is Wednesday, January 22nd, 2025. I am Jer Stays coming to you from our studio at Techtown. And across the table from me is none other than the Prince of Brightmoor, Norris Howard. How are you?
That's right. The Prince of Brightmoor, world-renowned Nazi puncher. And I'm here. But we got something funny to talk about today because, listen, Jer, the Renaissance Center, the small tower now, not the big one.
One of the small towers.
One of the small towers off to the side is up for sale, and I think we should put a bid in.
Let me give you the details. Let me give the people the details.
Okay.
And then let's talk about it.
Okay.
Cranes Detroit Business is reporting that the 600 tower of the RenCen, it is 21 stories tall, is heading to auction next March with a starting bid of $2.75 million. The tower is currently 89% vacant and is part of a larger, and this whole thing is part of a larger story with the Renaissance Center. This is not connected to the possible demolitions, redo of the other 5 towers. I have a couple of thoughts from a serious side. It already being up for auction with that low of a bid after being recently bought shows how little demand there is for office space. And I think everybody who's a decision maker needs to just stop their office space dreams right now. Like whether you're talking about District Detroit, everything else, game over here with this office space.
It has
stuff.
all the things. Everything built needs to be residential, flat out. Like if you're building new offices and you don't have a tenant locked up right now,
like Michigan Central,
or like the new tower, the Hudson's Tower,
yep.
Right? If you don't have it locked in, stop right now. Like literally stop right now and convert it to residential, because anything else is a waste of money and a waste of time right now.
And I think we should convert this to residential, but we should convert it to
50-50. Right? This is what I think, right? I think it should be 50% residential and 50% Daily Detroit. Like, that's what I think.
This should be the new Daily Detroit World Headquarters. Are we going to put in a bid?
We should put in a bid. Listen, listeners, okay? Daily Detroit faithful, I'm serious about this, okay? I want us to start a Kickstarter, all right? And we are going to put it out, because what I want to see is if we can raise $3 million and buy a tower at the Renaissance Center so we can emblazon the Daily Detroit logo permanently downtown.
So you got the Blue Cross logo right across in the same area, and then you just have the Daily Detroit Shield, 21 stories, visible internationally.
We have to do this. This is a once-in-a-lifetime moment to buy a skyscraper, Jer.
All right. I have not talked to any professionals about this, but let's talk about our visions for what we would do with a 21-story Renaissance Center tower.
Right. So, first of all, obviously, we will not evict anyone who is currently in the tower.
11% occupied. Y'all can stay.
All right, because we are not into gentrification. You can stay. Whatever you paying for rent right now is how much you're going to pay us.
We might consolidate onto a floor or something.
No, if you want that floor, if you want your space, if you like it, you stay there. We're not displacing anyone. All right. That's number one, right? Number two is we got to have a whole floor specifically for the pets. There must be a pet floor.
You know what else I think?
Yeah.
Let us replace the parking lots with dog parking lots.
I agree, because all of us hate driving. And I think for most of us who currently live either downtown or very close to it, let's do that.
We need enough spaces for us.
Yeah.
But beyond that, turn it over to the dogs. Let's have the best dog park in Michigan with an indoor option, because we've got enough land.
They can go in and out.
Here's something that I'd learned that I did not know. Outside of Barkside in West Village, there are no indoor dog parks in Metro Detroit.
We're going to make it.
Which is insane to me.
We are going to make it. See, so also for your $3 million listeners, you're getting more than just an office for us. You are getting an indoor-outdoor dog park.
There might need to be more than $3 million for these plans. I also think that we should have residential where we create the Daily Detroit Co-op.
Yes.
Let's all move in.
Yes.
Randy works for a tenant of the RenCen. He could just keep it that's his day job. He could just wander over in his sweatpants.
Yeah.
And just right there, he likes to go to work. He doesn't like to work from home, but he could just wander down. There's a gym in the main building. There's
so much stuff.
And then we could, the reporting, how fast would we be when we just have to take the elevator down to the studio?
It'll be fantastic. And listen, there's
we should have the Daily Detroit bar.
We have to have a bar. We have to have a rooftop bar.
You know what we should call it?
Yeah.
The Pingree. Right after Devin O'Reilly's favorite mayor, Hazen Pingree.
We should definitely
Pingree
call it
Club.
Actually, I'm down for having multiple bars. You feel what I'm saying? Because that'd be our high-end, classy attraction bar, right? You come in and people from all over the region go there. And then I want to have a straight-up dive bar. Like, we got to have a dive in there somewhere.
Curated by Mickey Lyons.
That's right. Mickey Lyons will curate us a dive bar. And then I must have a sports bar. I must have a high-end sports bar.
I assume there will be a lot of soccer.
All soccer. and you know, that's what listen, we could do that. All of us will live in the building. You know, we will have our interns live in studios on the 6th floor. It'd be great.
This would be amazing because we could just create housing. There's so much we could do with this.
We would save the Renaissance Center.
And think about what we could do for creators, like content creators.
Absolutely. We have a whole floor just dedicated to studio space.
Because we don't need a whole floor for the Daily Detroit studio.
No, but we would have it. We don't need it, but we would have it. It's better to have and not need than need and not have.
You know when we would have made it?
Yeah.
Is if we get Eric Thomas to grace our presence.
That would be...
Do one of his like hot take videos on Instagram from the building.
And he will have a floor to himself as well.
You're just handing out floors to notable Detroiters.
It's 21 floors. We got to fill them. This is the problem they have right now. I'm trying to be creative and figure out the best ways for us to get bodies in these floors, man. DailyDetroit.com.
Eat your heart out, Detroit media.
That's right.
We're taking the RenCen.
DailyDetroit.com. Find the Kickstarter and donate $3 million to us so we can buy a tower in the RenCen.
Well, in all seriousness, this is going to be hitting the auction block March 17th through 19th, and it will be on 10-x.com. So if we're going to do this, I mean, the biggest dog park in Michigan, I think we could do it.
We would make that. That would be like
and keep the show going every day.
Executive order dog park.
Wait. Do I get to write my own executive orders within the building?
Yes. You'd be an owner. You could do it. I think you could, Jer. We could rename it. It could be Jer Tower. We don't like it. This is what it is. It could be whatever you want. This is what you can do when you're rich.
Well, it's been proven there are no bounds.
There are no boundaries. There are no boundaries. You can
point.
even become president.
Norris, I have some things I want to preview for the project with people. Before we get started with that, I want to cover a little bit of news. We have a new candidate for governor officially. Yeah. First broken by our friend Sam Robinson over at 1 Million Detroiters. He was eagle-eyed and caught that there was a donation link up, and then the official announcement came. Jocelyn Benson is running, Secretary of State is running for governor, and I would say let's start the conversation. It'll be a quick one, but let's start the conversation with, I think she starts as the presumptive Democratic leader.
I would say so, yeah, without a doubt, especially with Mike Duggan running as an independent. And I think what this does is, you know, it was an expected move, I think, for most people who have been in the game for a while. But, you know, her officially throwing her hat in the game, you know, at this point, it's your move, GOP, because I think by having both Duggan and Benson, even if they split with one another, both are going to be formidable opponents in a general, in my opinion.
I'm already getting bathed in text messages from the Benson campaign.
Yeah.
The core question that I'm wrestling with, and I think a lot of people are wrestling with, will Duggan take votes away only from Democrats or from both? Because when I go online, people are very terrified about the idea that because Duggan is running, it ensures that Democrats, that they both will lose. Do you believe that theory as we stand January 22nd?
It all depends on where the city of Detroit goes, right? And it depends on how finally people read the ballot itself, right? Because if you got a lot of people who go out there, they see, give me the Democratic ballot, they see the D, they vote whoever the D is next to, you know, in many of the cities here in Metro Detroit. However, I think Mike Duggan does present a very unique challenge for Democrats because he will win the city of Detroit.
Bold take, which is different than what some of the polling has said.
I think he will win the city of Detroit. I think A lot of New Detroit rocks with him. I think the neighborhoods rock with him. And I think him running as an independent, we got to remember, man, the Democratic brand right now, and this could change by the time the election rolls around, but the Democratic brand is not doing well right now. People are very disenchanted with the national party. People are very disenchanted with how the presidential election ran. And I think that is Mike Duggan's calculus, is to say, listen, it's not about party. It's about a guy who's came in and did something for you. And that resonates with Detroiters.
I will also maintain that he will snipe off a good number of moderate and slightly conservative voters, in part because Trump will not be on the ballot.
Nope.
And Trump didn't even have the best of coattails. There were many situations. There was some really interesting data that the New York Times shared, which I can link to, about the entire country and precinct voting and everything else. One of the things that is clear is that there were a lot of people who showed up for Donald Trump but didn't vote for anybody else. And that's part of the reason why you had Alyssa Slotkin win her U.S. Senate seat. So those Trump coattails are not universal, and especially if he's not in the race, then that is going to free up people where I think he is also going to take from the right. I don't feel strong enough this early to predict anything, but I do think that there is a shakeup in this, because I think people very involved with politics are very used to like this binary thinking. I can tell you from listener feedback, people are tired.
They're tired of the dichotomy, man. They're tired of it. And, you know, it's going to be really interesting to see, because not just talking about those sort of, you know, moderate Republican, moderate Democrats that I think Duggan, that's his lane, right? But I think also what you're going to see is you're going to see a lot of people who are coming down from the exurbs who are going to rock with Duggan because they see the results. It's simple as that. They're going to look at this guy and they're going to say, Jocelyn Benson, I don't even know what you do. Like, I go to Secretary of State 3 times every other year, and
she's very visible on MSNBC and things.
Okay, and a lot of people can't stand MSNBC. But you look at somebody like Duggan, and you got people going, "Oh wow, I've gone to more Tigers games than I've ever gone to before."
The NFL draft.
The NFL draft.
The NFL draft is a huge thing he can point to at the campaign trail and say, "I brought 775,000 people through Detroit with almost no incident."
And no incident.
That is getting things done.
And no incident. And people are going to remember that. There's a lot of people in this region who came down for the draft, came down for the Lions games, came down for the Tigers games with no incident, no fear, which they shouldn't to begin with. But they are going to take that back home and say, that guy, he's going to get this narrative. That guy saved Detroit. I disagree with that narrative, but I'm saying that is the narrative he's going to run on.
I'm updating my priors because earlier I talked about on this show about the importance of women's rights, things like that. I'm updating my priors with new information. I don't think that's going to be prime and center, especially without those ballot initiatives. And I think that disadvantages Benson greatly.
Absolutely. There's no identity politics for her to run off of. And that, you know,
but my text messages were all about Trump and the inauguration and crime. And I don't think that's a winning message either.
But in a general, it's going to be very difficult for her to run against his track record. Like, obviously, she's going to be able to run on the statewide track record, talk about a lot of the legislation that was passed by the Democrats in terms of the midterms last time around of 2022. But when you look at somebody like Mike Duggan, and I know I'm talking like I'm a fan or this is a foregone conclusion, I'm just reading the tea leaves and using examples that exist.
We're looking more at environment as opposed to candidate, because I don't think either of us are saying that Jocelyn Benson's a bad candidate.
Not at all. Not at all. She's the best that the Michigan Democrats have right now. And I think that is still a strong candidate.
But the environment is against her.
It is. The environment against her. The rhetoric is against her. And at the end of the day, you know, you talked about policing with Jocelyn Benson. We just read on a downtown Detroit, you know, survey that took place this week that the vast majority, we're talking about in the 80 to almost 90 percentile of Detroiters feel like the community policing is working. They feel safer downtown. They feel safer in their neighborhoods. They feel safer across the board in the city of Detroit. That is really powerful.
I would love to hear what you think. dailydetroit@gmail.com. Let's preview some coming things. First off, tomorrow, if you are hearing this between Wednesday and Thursday, we will be at the Detroit Policy Conference. Look for live coverage with our newsletter on social media. We will be there. Come up and say hi if you are going to the Detroit Policy Conference. I will be running a conversation that I had with Downtown Detroit Partnership CEO Eric Larson and Dina Cavalier about that Downtown Detroit Perception Survey. It's a really interesting conversation that I recorded this morning. I'm going to run that tomorrow. I think you're going to get a lot out of that. So if you're at the conference, we'll be getting interviews. We'll be talking to folks. We will be sending a newsletter wrapping up everything that happened and connecting with folks. But also, we have a thing coming on Tuesday, Norris Howard.
That's right, man. Y'all better get ready, and you better open your phones, open your laptops, open your desktops, whatever, because we have a new website on the way, my friends.
And a little preview, we're going to do an episode about it, but it's different.
It's different, and it's not going to be your typical news website, but we think that it will provide you with the stories, with the value, with the ability to be able to get the information as quickly as possible, and to be able to show your big brain off to your friends.
I wrote an editorial in Crane's Detroit Business a few months ago about the fact that you need to be vital, not viral.
That's right.
And with that in mind, what you are going to see on Tuesday is not what you typically see out of like the newspaper format, but shoved online.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, well, frankly, the print facilities for the Detroit Free Open News are closing. The era of the newspaper as that form factor is over. As much as I love print newspapers. I love papers.
It makes me so sad, but it's the reality.
And so we are recalibrating for that to be on it, to be sharing this content a whole lot better, we're going to have a whole new thing that we're going to a new feature that we will talk about next week on the next episode that I think bringing it to the local news space is going to be a good thing. So more on that later. Thank you so much to our members on Patreon, patreon.com/dailydetroit for making this happen. Local media needs your local support because we're doing this on our own, man. Like this work. Thank you so much to Adam Cook, the technologist, for working with us to get this done. We didn't go out and get a grant. We didn't go out and get a sponsor for it. We're just doing it.
Yeah.
We're just making it happen like we have at Daily Detroit for nearly 1,600 episodes. We are standing on it. And that's what you need to do. And so with us doing that work, I'm hoping that you'll support us at patreon.com/dailydetroit. Get access to our Discord, or be a sponsor. We're making these moves. We're not going to wait for other people's permission.
We also need the skyscraper. So
yes,
support us because we got to pay for the website. We also got to pay for the skyscraper. So
I want your suggestions. dailydetroit@gmail.com. What retail should we have in the skyscraper?
Yep.
What, would you live in there with us? Would you want to be a tenant?
Yeah.
Of the Daily Detroit
Co-op.
The Daily Detroit Co-op.
Yeah, there you go.
Are we the ones who are going to bring a full service? Well, you know what? The Meyer Market's not that far away.
No, but we can figure it out. I'm talking about full service tower, baby. I'm talking about Hong Kong style full service tower. Everything in one building.
Listen, are we going to bring the Target to Detroit?
Yes, we're bringing the Target to Detroit. It's going to face outwardly so people in Windsor can see a giant red dot from across the Detroit River. We are going to do it.
Thank you so much for listening. I'm Jer Staves.
And I'm Norris Howard.
Remember that you are somebody, and we'll see you around Detroit.